The Galactic Military Academy's training hall fell silent as Commander Vexthak's four eyes swept across the assembled cadets. His chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the harsh lights, and when he spoke, his voice carried the authority of a species that had conquered 17 star systems. Earth, he began, his mandibles clicking with what the universal translator registered as disdain, is perhaps the most peculiar case in our alliance. A world that has produced no great military leaders, no legendary warriors, no conquest fleets that span the void. His gaze settled on the small group of human cadets clustered near the back. Tell me, humans, why does your species breed no warriors? Cadet Chen felt every eye in the room turned toward her and her fellow Earthborn classmates. Around them sat the cream of the galaxy's military might, towering Corvan berserkers bred for battle, lithe Thessian tacticians whose ancestors had outmaneuvered entire armadas, and crystalline Nexari whose hive minds could coordinate million-ship formations. Her friend Elsa Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably beside her, but Zia remained still. She had been expecting this question since arriving at the academy 6 months ago. The other species had made their assumptions clear from day one. Humans were the soft ones, the weak ones, the species that somehow stumbled into galactic citizenship, despite lacking any obvious martial prowess. Well, Commander Vexthak pressed, surely one of you can explain why your homeworld has never produced a single warrior of note. Zia stood slowly, her movements deliberate and controlled. At barely 5.5 feet tall, she looked almost childlike among her towering classmates, but there was something in her dark eyes that gave several of the larger aliens pause. Permission to respond, sir? Granted, Cadet Chen. With respect, Commander, your premise is flawed. Her voice carried clearly across the hall, each word measured and precise. Earth has produced countless warriors. You're looking at one. A ripple of what could only be described as amusement passed through the non-human cadets. Commander Vexthak's mandibles twitched in what Zia had learned was the Nexari equivalent of a smirk. You consider yourself a warrior, human? You've never conquered a world, never led armies to victory, never even won a single combat simulation against your peers. You're right about the simulations, Zia admitted. I've lost every single one, but you're wrong about everything else. Elsa shot her a warning look, but Zia continued. You want to know why Earth breeds no warriors in your tradition? It's because we don't need to. A Corvan warrior is born to fight, bred, trained, and shaped by a culture that has known only conflict for millennia. A Thessian learns warfare because their species has survived by outthinking their enemies for eons. The Nexari coordinate fleets because individual combat means nothing to a hive mind. She paused, letting her words sink in. But humans? We're different. We're not born warriors, Commander. We become them when we have to. Elaborate, Vexthak commanded, his tone now more curious than dismissive. My grandmother wasn't a warrior when she was born in a place called rural Vietnam. She was a farmer's daughter, but when foreign soldiers came to her village, she picked up a rifle and fought for 8 years in jungles that would kill most species in this room within hours. Not because she was bred for it, not because her culture demanded it, but because someone threatened her home. Zia's voice grew stronger, more confident. My great-grandfather wasn't a warrior when he left Ireland for America. He was looking for work, for a better life. But when his adopted country called, he stormed beaches under machine gun fire and held lines against impossible odds. Not because conquest was in his blood, but because freedom was worth dying for. The hall had grown completely quiet now. Even the usually restless Corvan cadets had stopped their constant fidgeting. Every human carries this potential, Commander. We don't need warrior castes or military breeding programs or conquest fleets, because every single one of us can become a warrior when circumstances demand it. The school teacher who runs toward gunfire to protect her students, the office worker who pulls strangers from burning buildings, the farmer who stands against overwhelming odds to protect his neighbors. Elsa was nodding now, understanding where Zia was heading. You want to know why I lose every combat simulation? Because I'm not trying to win, I'm trying to protect my squad. Every scenario you've given us, I've prioritized saving lives over achieving objectives. Call it a weakness if you want, but that's what human warriors do. We don't fight to conquer. We fight to protect. Commander Vexthak was silent for a long moment, his four eyes studying the small human with new interest. And you believe this makes you superior warriors? No, sir. It makes us different ones. A Corvan warrior is dangerous because they're trained to kill. A human warrior is dangerous because they're willing to die. And there's a difference between someone who fights because they have to and someone who fights because they choose to. Zia gestured to her classmates around the room. Every species here became warriors because their evolution or their culture left them no choice. Humans become warriors because we choose to stand up, when standing up is the right thing to do. We're not bred for battle, Commander. We're bred for something much more dangerous. Which is? Zia smiled, and for the first time since arriving at the academy, she felt like she truly belonged among these galactic elites. Hope, sir. We're bred for hope, and hope makes people do impossible things. The silence that followed was different from before, not dismissive, but contemplative. When Commander Vexthak finally spoke, there was something that might have been respect in his mechanical voice. Interesting perspective, Cadet Chen. We'll see how your human hope fares in tomorrow's exercises. As the assembly dispersed, Elsa caught up with Zia in the corridor. Think you got through to them? Zia shrugged, but there was satisfaction in her smile. Doesn't matter if I did, but maybe now they understand why Earth doesn't breed warriors. She paused, watching the alien cadets file past. We do something much more dangerous. We breed humans who become warriors when the galaxy needs them to be. And in the vast halls of the Galactic Military Academy, surrounded by the greatest military minds in known space, Cadet Zia Chen walked a little taller, carrying the quiet strength of a species that had never needed to conquer the stars, because they had already conquered something far more difficult. They had conquered themselves.